Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned the Israeli military is surrounding Gaza City. IDF troops are moving further into the area, engaging in face-to-face battles as they break Hamas defensive lines.
Israeli artillery units are hammering the area along the Gaza border, targeting tunnels Hamas fighters have been using to ambush troops as the Gaza offensive intensifies. The IDF says 18 of its soldiers have been killed this week, and that number is expected to climb significantly. They're using attack helicopters and fighter jets to provide air support, but it's expected to be a challenging push as they close in on Gaza City.
The fighters continue to break down the lines of defense from Hamas in the northern Gaza Strip and take control of central areas in the region. We continue to intensify the activity and move forward.
Meanwhile, in southern Gaza, the Rafah crossing is open to foreigners for the second straight day, with thousands scrambling to get out while they can. About 400 Americans are still trapped, but sources tell Fox News they've been cleared to leave as soon as today. The White House and State Department now working on specific departure details.
Working nonstop to get Americans out of Gaza as soon and as safely as possible. This is the result of intense and urgent American diplomacy with our partners in the region.
President Biden also calling for a humanitarian pause to allow foreigners to leave Gaza and more aid to get in. The UN says thousands will die if that doesn't happen.
We have limited stocks of flour. We have a huge challenge with water. It continues to be a desperate situation.
The diplomatic effort is expected to get a big boost tomorrow when U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken pays another visit to Israel and Jordan.
Well, let's keep that story running now, and we'll bring in our Sky News US contributor, Michael Ware. Michael, good to see you again. So what are your thoughts on the military operation so far from Israel?
Well, I think it's proceeding as best as anyone could have hoped for from the Israeli side. It's clear they're meeting a lot of opposition, but a full-blown invasion has not yet begun. These are significant incursions. In fact, you could call them blocking operations by moving in from at least three sides to surround Gaza City itself. The troops have not advanced into the metropolis, but they have taken up positions around the city as if to herd or shepherd the Hamas fighters into what they hope will be killing zones. But right now we're seeing live footage coming from the northeastern border of Gaza, where the Israelis are clearly using flares and smoke and other kinds of munitions because obviously they're meeting resistance there and something's clearly going on.
So what are the problems moving forward? I mean, notably, you've got the tunnels where a lot of fighters will operate from. And I guess when you're coming into a city which favours the defender, you'll have soldiers up in the buildings shooting down. I mean, I just realised as I'm asking this question, a lot of those buildings have been taken out. So that's done purposely by Israel, right?
Yeah, that has been done purposely. Look, the first thing I'll say about this urban conflict is that there's 200 plus hostages.
Yeah.
Right? That's going to tie your hands behind your back somewhat. And, that gives Hamas all the advantage it needs.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the actual urban conflict, I've been in so much of it, it sends chills down my spine just thinking of it. Whether it was the city of Fallujah, where the civilians were allowed to exit before the attack, or whether it was the Battle of Samarra, or the Battle of Tel Afar, or the Battle of Ramadi, where we were fighting around children. And we were having to drop bombs on houses next to children. I mean, that's a totally different kind of fight. Plus, you'll know, as a student of military history yourself, we saw in places like Stalingrad, the more you carpet bomb the city and reduce it to rubble, the more you give the defenders places to hide. And the more you keep bouncing the rubble, as we call bombing and bombing and bombing already destroyed areas, you just shift those places and give them even more places. So right now, the Israelis, I think, are trying to shape the battlefield, hem in as much of Hamas as they can, and to test and retest how Hamas is going to react when and if they go in real force.
Speaking of tests, You just saw there Joe Biden calling for a humanitarian pause to get civilians out, to get aid in, etc. This is against what Benjamin Netanyahu is saying at the moment. So is Netanyahu becoming a weight on Biden's shoulders?
Look, I think it's a very safe and neutral political thing to say that Benjamin Netanyahu has been the weight around the neck of several US administrations. So that's not brand new.
It's just something they got to wear.
Yeah, something they have to wear, like me. Look, the real significance is that the Biden administration has finally called for a pause. They're not calling for a ceasefire, which demonstrations around the globe are calling for. They're calling for a humanitarian pause. That alone is a change in direction for the Biden administration, because I think the Biden administration can see that the winds of global support are shifting. It's, as I said yesterday, it's almost like the entire globe has forgot the horrors that Hamas committed on October 7th. Yeah. It's like it never happened. And all everyone's focused on now is the suffering, and legitimately focusing on the suffering of the millions of Palestinians. Thousands of kids have died, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you turn away from that? But how can you turn away from the threat of Hamas?
Yep, and that is the dance, isn't it? Always is the case with this story as well. Michael, good to see you. We'll chat to you again soon.